Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Going Places with Abu Micah. If this is your first time watching my videos, welcome to my channel. I talk about immigration to Canada and basically anything to do with chasing the Canadian dream. Or as they say, the American dream, move north. Now in this video, I'm going to be talking about getting hired from outside Canada. It's something that is considerably more difficult than getting hired from within Canada because of the immigration rules. Now, I spoke to a number of people whom I know who got hired from outside Canada fairly recently, like within the last 2 years. And I'm just combining all of the tips that they shared with me and putting it in one video that's bite-sized, short enough for you to watch and digest everything. So you want to know about how to dramatically increase your chances of getting a job offer from outside Canada. This video is for you. Do stay tuned. Now, before an employer can legally offer a job to a foreign national, they have to typically prove to the government of Canada that they could not fill the position locally. By locally, I mean from among Canadian citizens, permanent residents, open work permit holders, people who are legally authorized to work in Canada. So they have to, this stuff that the employer has to do. They have to advertise the position in certain places for a certain period of time and, show that, hey, we couldn't find a truck driver who was willing to work for us. We advertised the position at this rate and, we're in compliance with everything that an employer has to do for this position. So, that's another video on its own, but it does add a lot of complexity to the hiring process, okay? But it's not impossible to get hired from outside Canada, and I'm going to share these 6 tips. The first 3 are pretty much no-brainers, but they're important to know. Okay, first one is that you should apply for jobs that are in line with your current experience or with your most recent experience, okay? The more recent your relevant experience for the job that you're applying for in Canada, the more likely you are to be shortlisted, to be shortlisted for an interview, to be selected for the role. Okay, an employer is, if they advertise for an accountant, okay, you may be qualified, you may be experienced, but if you last worked as an accountant 10 years ago, well, that won't increase your chances, right? So look at what you're doing now or what you recently did, and those are the jobs that you should apply for first before you apply for jobs where your experience is less recent. Okay. Secondly, use the Canadian resume format. Now, for this one, I'm not going to delve too much into this. Just look up on Google Canadian resume format. Know what to include, know what to exclude, know the format, and use it. Number 3 is follow up on your job applications. Now, don't just apply for positions in Canada and leave it up to the recruiter to give you feedback on your job application. Okay, that's not going to increase your chances, right? Remember, that job that you're applying for in Canada, there's someone from Russia applying for the same job. There's someone from Mexico applying for the same job. There's someone from Jamaica, someone from Trinidad, someone from India, someone from Zimbabwe, someone from United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, any country you can think of. Okay, there are people applying for these jobs from all over the world. So you really have to put your best foot forward. And that's what this video is about. I'm showing you these things so that you increase your chances of getting that job offer. Okay, so follow up on your application. If you sit back, somebody else is following up. Okay, I apply for jobs and I follow up with the employer, right? And I'm in Canada and you're applying from outside Canada and you're just expecting that they're gonna reply because I submitted an application. You don't know how many other people are applying for the same job. Okay, so I can't overemphasize this. Follow up on your job application at every stage. So even after you get interviewed, follow up. Even after you get the second interview, whatever, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. Okay, now the next 3 are not no-brainers, but they are more like tips and tricks. Okay, now number 4 tip is get a Canadian phone number and put it on your resume. It's a psychological trick. You're not misrepresenting your location. The reason why you should put a Canadian phone number on your resume, okay, is that number 1, employers from my experience, because I also applied for jobs before coming here, it appears to me like employers don't make assumptions about where you are. Okay, that's what I tend to notice. Employers in Canada don't generally assume that because you put your address as Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya, or Windhoek, Namibia, you you are not a citizen. You're not allowed to work in Canada. They don't make that assumption for the most part. Okay, so yes, put put on your CV that you are in Harare, Zimbabwe, or you are in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, or you are in I don't know, you are in Kiev, Moscow, whatever. Kiev is in Ukraine. So put your location, but then put a Canadian phone number. It's like a psychological trick that makes the recruiter think that you've got some sort of connection to Canada. Okay, so it increases your chances of getting an interview. Okay, then in the interview, that's when you now really like hit hard and sell yourself to the employer, and put yourself in the employer's mind. Okay, make them think about hiring you only, right? Now, how do you get that Canadian phone number? Okay, how you get that Canadian phone number is you get a virtual number through a service like TextNow. So TextNow works like Skype. Okay, it allows you to make and receive phone calls using your data connection. Okay, now the good thing about TextNow is it's free, unlike Skype, right? So you can make calls to Canadian and American phone numbers for free. I know a lot of people who use this TextNow to follow up on their immigration applications. They phone the government of Canada, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship, and say, hey, I submitted my application. What's the status? So you can also use that to follow up, like I mentioned in point number 3, follow up on your job applications. Okay. So yeah, that's tip number 4. Tip number 5, very, very important. I think if you don't take away anything else, take this away. All right, take everything else. Tip number 5 is go against the competition. Okay, don't go with the competition. I don't know. Is that it? Okay. Avoid the competition. That's what I'm trying to say. You're applying for a job in Ontario province. Okay. Everybody wants a job in Toronto, in Ottawa, in Mississauga. We are all applying for jobs there. Okay. I'm not applying to Toronto, but there's so much competition in the big cities. Okay. So you're not going to increase your chances of getting a job offer if you're applying for positions in Calgary. Okay. If you're applying for positions in Edmonton, Edmonton is the capital city of the province of Alberta. If you're applying for jobs in British Columbia, in Vancouver, in Surrey, in Richmond, everybody is applying for jobs there. Okay, so you're not gonna do yourself a favor by applying for jobs where there's so much competition. Okay, so familiarize yourself with Canadian geography. Look at other areas outside the major metropolitan cities. Okay, I've been to a lot of small towns and cities in Alberta. I've been to Drayton Valley, to Bonnyville, Leduc. I've been to Airdrie, to Canmore, Banff, Lake Louise, a lot of places. Okay, in those areas, the impact of a vacancy is felt more, and employers tend to open positions, tend to have vacancies for a longer period of time than in the major cities. Because like where I work, for example, in Edmonton, there are 5 of us. Okay, we're a team of 5. If I decide to quit my job today, tell my boss, you know what, yeah, I'm going, right? They can have a replacement for me within a very short period of time. Or even if they don't want to, they can decide to just move people around, play around with some shifts and say, okay, let's see how I can work with 4 people instead of 5. Okay, so in the big cities, it then becomes difficult for an employer to say, okay, I advertised the position and I couldn't find somebody. If they advertise my position today, they'll probably have I don't know, 20 or 30 applications by the end of the day. Okay, and from people who are qualified and experienced and in Canada to do the job. But then Westlock in Alberta, the Thunder Bay in Ontario, Sudbury, Radium Hot Springs in British Columbia, or which other place? We don't know those places, right? We only know the most popular cities. We know, I mean, the cities that I've talked about. But in Ontario, do you know of a place called Windsor? Do you know of a place called Sault Ste. Marie? We don't know for the most part. If I told you of some of the cities, there's a city called Peace River in Alberta. There's a city called, okay, it's not a city, it's a town. There's a town called Grand Prairie. There's a town called High Prairie. There's Camrose. Nobody's applying for jobs there, right? We're all applying for jobs in Edmonton and in Calgary, where there are millions of people. Apply for jobs in small towns. You will increase your chances. Yes, some people may say there are less opportunities in smaller towns. That is true. But when an opportunity arises in a small town, right? Number one, people in Edmonton aren't going to be flocking there, right? They're not going to be flocking to Cold Lake, okay, to fill that accountant position with H&R Block. H&R Block is here in Edmonton. If they advertise the position in Cold Lake, I'll be like, I have to think about, okay, do I move my family? My son is in school here and my wife is working here, and for us to all then move there, yeah, we have roots in these towns and cities. But then in smaller towns, everybody is pretty much doing, they're pretty much established where they are, right? So it then becomes difficult even for people within those small towns to say, okay, I'm leaving this one, I'm going there. And even if they do, it means another position is arisen there. So it's easier for an employer to then say to the government of Canada, hey, I'm in Cold Lake. I advertised for an accountant, and people were not even willing to move from Edmonton to Cold Lake, 300 kilometers, right? So that can help to increase your chances of getting a job offer. Okay. Now, I think I should do a video on small towns, maybe. Last tip, I don't want to make my videos too long. Last tip, right, I talked about the labor market impact assessment, right? For the most part, when an employer already has a labor market impact assessment for a position that they've advertised, they'll put it on the job advert. So use that as a keyword. Go to Indeed and, search for LMIA and then put a location. So LMIA, Drayton Valley, LMIA, Thunder Bay, LMIA, Kamloops, Kelowna. Okay, that's British Columbia. So use that as a keyword and then see the jobs that come up and apply for jobs that already have an LMIA approved. Okay, so now, so those are the 6 tips. Okay, now let's combine them. You are more likely to get a job offer if you apply for a job which for which you've got recent experience. You follow up on your application, use the Canadian resume format, put a Canadian phone number on your resume, apply for a job in a small town, and apply for a job that already has got an LMIA approved. So if you do those things consistently every time you are making an application, you will dramatically increase your chance of getting a job offer, and we'll be welcoming you, sooner than people who are not following those 6 steps. Okay, so if you like this video, guys, I hope this has been very helpful. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear feedback in the comments below, and I hope this helps somebody. See you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.